I'm about to show you 3 amazing coffee cocktails, all of which contain only 3 key ingredients. So this is going to be quick fire, really flexible, and super simple. We're going to be making 3 riffs on different cocktails. The first being a revolver, which is a coffee cocktail in itself, which we're going to slightly tweak. We're then going to make a version of a coffee old fashioned, and then finally, we're going to make a rum and raisin coffee shakerato. So these are bangers, they're super simple, really easy to make, so let's have a look at them now. Alright, welcome back to the Coffee Cocktail channel with me, Dan Fellows. So before we start making these delicious coffee cocktails, which are super simple and really easy to make, I'm just going to let you know that I've linked below my Instagram profile, as well as in the description. So make sure you follow me there if you want to stay up to date with all these delicious coffee cocktail recipes and lots of good fun stuff. And also make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, just to stay notified of whenever I post new videos and new recipes. And we've got some really exciting stuff coming up in the next few weeks. So 3 recipes: revolver, coffee old fashioned, and a rum and raisin coffee shakerato. And each drink only has 3 key ingredients. There is a 4th you can add in there if you want to get kind of jazzy and slightly elevate the drinks even further, which is my trusty Saline solution. But I'm not going to count that as a key ingredient because it is very much optional and it's not really critical to the drink, although it does make it a little bit better. So first of all, we're going to make the coffee revolver. So the revolver is a fairly recent coffee cocktail, invented in the early 2000s. And the original spec calls for a big measure, so 50 or 60 ml of bourbon, 15 ml of coffee liqueur, and a couple of dashes of orange bitters, all with an orange twist, which is flamed. So when it comes to these drinks, I'm not too much of a traditionalist on making sure I stick to kind of what should be in the drink when thinking about the original specs. So I'm always driven by accessibility and taste fundamentally. So all of these ingredients are relatively affordable when you compare them to other alcohols, and incredible quality for what you're paying. So that bourbon I'm switching out for Glenfiddich Fire and Cane, which for me is the perfect entry-level whiskey for anyone who's never had kind of anything too smoky or thinks they don't like peated whiskey. So some people find this very sweet from the rum barrel aging. Some people find it very smoky. It's kind of 2 different sides of the same whiskey, but they work together so well. So that 60 ml in the original spec, I'm going to cut down. I'm going to go with 35 ml of Glenfiddich Fire and Cane. And it's really important whenever you're twisting any of these kind of classic cocktails, you fundamentally choose ingredients that you love. So I'm using these kind of really quality ingredients in my opinion. Make sure you use what you think is best. So whatever you think would work in these drinks, give it a go. Don't be bound by what I like, think about what you like. So we're going 35 ml of our coffee liqueur, which is Bordeaux Distilling. And throughout the 3 recipes today, I'm going to be using 3 of the top 5 coffee liqueurs that I tasted in my coffee liqueur tasting, which I posted recently, which I'll link above. So 35 ml, 3 dashes of orange bitters for that kind of pithy citrus in there. And then we're going to shake this hard over ice. So again, make sure you use really good quality ice, which isn't too kind of melted. And I forgot the 4th ingredient, which is optional, is our saline solution. So as with all of the coffee cocktails I've showcased so far, you can add a little bit of salt to kind of make this a little bit more balanced, a little bit more bridged between the different ingredients. And I add 1 gram of saline at 1:5 ratio, salt to boiling water, per 100 mils of liquid. So there's just about 70 mils of liquid in this drink. I've added 0.7 grams of saline. And then we're going to give this a good shake. Want to get it really nice and cold. So you can see that's all frosted over. I'm going to grab a frozen coupe glass as well, or a Nora. And then we're going to fine strain. So I don't expect this to be a foamy drink because there's no sort of fresh espresso in there, but the shaking just gives it a little nice dilution, nice texture, nice integration. So our first very simple 3 ingredient coffee cocktail with a cheeky 4th, which is the Saline, which I'm not counting. is our Revolver Twist. So a little bit more smoky, a little bit more complex, and you finish the drink with a twist of flamed orange peel. So just going to take a little coin from the orange, make sure it's a nice fresh orange for this. Give me a little burn with the lighter, and then, ooh, big flame. Chuck that in there, and you have our personal version of the Revolver. Cheers. For 3 ingredients, it's so complex. So there's a really nice balance between the 3. You've got the real nice kind of sweetness coming forward from the whiskey and the smokiness in there too. So good. Got the coffee liqueur. I chose this one because it's got a little bit more sweetness than the other 2 on the table. So because we're not adding any sugars, this kind of balances it out really nicely. Really good bitterness from the orange bitters and the kind of flamed orange peel. And the flamed orange and the kind of smoky fire and cane notes from the fire and cane obviously tie in really nicely. Good texture, very, very cold. Super delicious. And you can play around with the ratios, the ingredients. I've made this with, rather than 35-35, doing 40 and 30, and it's really quite different. Much more whiskey forward, lots more kind of booziness to the drink, but this is a kind of ratio I think a lot of people will like a lot. One of which being me. That is damn tasty. So let's make our next drink, which is a riff on a coffee old fashioned. So the second recipe we're going to make today is a coffee old fashioned. So classic old fashioned is again, big measure of bourbon, so around about 60 ml, a little bit of sugar syrup, dependent on the sweetness you want to find in the drink, and then some bitters with a twist of orange as your garnish, maybe a little cherry on top if you like that. So for our coffee old fashioned, we're going to be slightly changing this. Again, I'm not too fussed about using bourbon in this particular recipe. I do like it, but I want to kind of mix it up a little bit, add a little bit more complexity. So I'm going to start with Kavalan No. 2 whiskey. You could, in a mixing glass, stir this down over ice, strain into a frozen glass, but for simplicity's sake today, I'm just going to build it straight over a big ice cube in the glass we're going to drink from. So again, change your proportions as you wish. This Kavalan whiskey has loads of complexity, a little bit of kind of pineapple jam, a little bit of tropical fruit. Not as tropical as some of their other whiskies, but kind of like a herbal thing going on, a little bit of spice in there, which is a really nice base, almost like a rye for an old fashioned. I've gone for 50 ml because I love it, but you can go for 40 to 30 if you're coffee liqueur, if you want a little bit more coffee forward. I'm going 50-20. So 50 ml of Kavalan No. 2, or your favorite whiskey of choice. 20 ml of Mr. Black. And this, for me, has probably the most intense coffee flavor of all the coffee liqueurs I tasted, and a good level of sweetness for this particular drink. So get a really nice balance between the two. Then we're going to go 3 dashes of Angostura bitters. And for our final jazzy ingredient, if you want to, we've got a 70 ml drink, or 70 gram drink this time. So I'm going to add 0.7 grams of our Saline, which, as I say, very much optional, but it's cool. Simple as that. So all we need to do now, give it a stir with the best bar spoon in the world. And you do want to get plenty of kind of dilution with this. And then for the garnish, you can do lemon. I prefer orange, so you can do a little orange twist, just to add a little bit of citrus aroma, which complements the whiskey. Really does complement the coffee. And I've said before, a twist of orange over a coffee cocktail is very obvious. Not necessarily a bad thing, because it does work a lot of the time. So we're going to go with that this time, but be creative. This is pretty much free reign to make whatever drink you want with whatever ingredients you want. But to keep it simple, 50 ml of Kavalan whiskey, No. 2, 20 ml of Mr. Black, 3 dashes of Aromatic Bitters, play around with the bitters, could go with chocolate bitters, it'd be really tasty, and then a twist of orange, and a very simple, but very delicious, coffee old-fashioned twist. So there it is, super simple. Oh my God, it's so good. It's everything I want from an old fashioned. I don't like it to be too sweet. You could actually add a little bit of sugar syrup to this if you wanted. You get some natural sweetness from the Mr. Black, some kind of natural sweetness from the whiskey as well. If you used an older whiskey, you'd have a little bit more of the kind of flavour development and depth. I like this, it's vibrant, it's fresh. Oh, super tasty. There's a tiny bit of that kind of ripe tropical fruit in there without being overwhelming. Kind of tastes like a chocolate orange, which is no bad thing. And again, play around with the proportions, play around with the ingredients. Have fun. These drinks are simple. I'm gonna keep drinking it. Oh, it's a banging coffee, old fashioned. So let's move on to our third drink, which is gonna be our rum and raisin coffee SHAKERATO. Sounds fun, right? So the last drink I'm gonna show you today is based on one of my favorite flavor combinations in the world, which is rum and raisin. And it's gonna be a rum and raisin coffee SHAKERATO. So lots of delicious things working together. Rum and raisin being two of them. So we're gonna start with a good measure, 30 ml of one of my favorite rums in the world, which is Diplomatico Reserva Exclusiva. Pretty sweet rum. Lots of depth of flavor. Really good kind of thick texture. Oh, it smells so nice. A really good sipping rum if ever you get a bottle of this. We're gonna go 30 ml of that. For the raisin character, get some Pedro Ximenez, which is a very sweet sherry. Gonna go 20 ml, which is quite a lot to be honest. You're gonna have to shake this nice and cold to kind of mitigate some of that sweetness. And then, because we've got some sweetness from the Pedro Ximenez, I've gone for a very low sugar coffee liqueur. So again, the least sweet coffee liqueur I tasted in my coffee liqueur tasting was Algebra, which has the lowest amount of sugar to be defined as a coffee liqueur, as well as great coffee from Has Been. Gonna go 20 ml of that. And these are all working together to kind of create that really nice coffee, rum, raisin flavor profile. This one I really would recommend the salt for, because it brings like a salted caramel thing to the drink, which is delicious. So once again, 30, 20, 20 is 70. Gonna add 0.7 grams into our drink. And you kind of have to trust me on this. It really does add a lot to the drinks. Just brings everything together. And then we're gonna give this a really good shake with some fresh ice. And it wouldn't be a SHAKERATO without a really good shake. And again, we're not looking for a super foamy texture, but you do want to get it really nice and cold like that. Then, to keep the cold thing going, you're gonna get a frozen glass. So you want a nice small kind of Nora / coupe glass. And again, we're gonna fine strain this just to get rid of any of those little shards that we don't want in the drink. This is such a good drink. I've had quite a few of these in preparation for this evening's filming. R&D, of course. So I'm quite excited to try this in front of you all. And there we have the rum and raisin coffee SHAKERATO. Again, a little twist of citrus just kind of tapers that sweetness from the other ingredients. Get a lemon to mix it up, but have a play around. And once again, you can play with your favorite rums, also works with whiskey. Any kind of aged spirit works really nicely. Your favorite coffee liqueur. And the Pedro Ximenez is kind of critical for that raisin character. But if you want a more dry style, try different sherries. So there it is. 3 ingredients, a little bit of salt, rum and raisin, coffee SHAKERATO. Cheers. Does what it says in the tin. Lots of kind of balanced sweetness, everything ties in really nicely. It just tastes like rum and raisin. I'm not going to say much more. There we have it. 3 delicious coffee cocktail recipes with 3 ingredients each. A little bit of salt to kind of bring everything together, and I hope it inspires you to make some coffee cocktails. I'm trying to demystify coffee cocktails. They can be as complex or as simple as you make them. Hope this proves they can be very simple and approachable, and I hope you give it a go at home. So like I said at the beginning, make sure you follow me on Instagram, which I'll link in the description below. Follow along by subscribing to the channel so you'll get all of the up-to-date recipes and whatnot when I drop new videos. I'm gonna have a little bit more of this because it's damn tasty. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Cheers.